Hey everybody, Dave Floss here with Mentally Unbalanced and Prometheus Falling Toys. And today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite G.I. Joe characters, the B.A.T, or Battle Android Trooper. So stick around. So here we are in the early 1980s, and this new awesome TV show comes out that absolutely captures my imagination and excitement. G.I. Joe, the real American hero. Now, in the early 80s, as G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, a whole slew of new cartoons, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, a whole slew of new cartoons were coming out. And ultimately, it was interesting because they came out ultimately because of restrictions being lifted that allowed toy companies to create cartoons or other intellectual property to help promote their toys. And ultimately, many of these shows, and especially certain episodes, were ultimately just there to sell toys, right? To sell their product. The whole episodes would be dedicated just to introducing a new character, a new whatever, because that was the next toy that was coming up for release or had just been released. And it was all about getting kids to get really excited about this stuff and go out and buy these toys. And it worked. Well, it worked for sure, and it definitely worked on me because the more awesome things I saw in these cartoons, the more I wanted to hit the toy aisles and pick up the latest action figure or vehicle, whatever was coming out. I was all over it, begging my parents, please, can I have the latest whatever? Now, what's also interesting is that while these toy companies could create these cartoons to ultimately just create 30-minute long advertisement episodes for their product, there were some limits and restrictions. And that one of those key restrictions was violence. There had to be a huge limit on any portrayal of violence. So where did that leave us? Well, you got G.I. Joe, the real American hero, fighting this global terrorist organization of Cobra with all of these cool vehicles and soldiers and the Crimson Guard and all this stuff. And yet, episode after episode, there'd be from few figures to tons of characters shooting, the red lasers, the blue lasers, things flying. Nothing ever got hit. Nobody ever got hurt. And in the rare case, even that a vehicle would get blown up, let's say the Sky Striker, right? Anytime that would happen, we would always see the pilot or anyone else always safely parachuting away and falling. So the G.I. Joe Cobra Wars, as they have it, were unique in the fact that they never had any casualties ever portrayed on screen. Well, interestingly enough, one of my all-time favorite toys and characters from G.I. Joe was brought in specifically so they could actually portray, at least to a degree, some of the violence. The idea that this elite special missions force could actually hit something. They could hit their target. While they couldn't shoot real people, they couldn't shoot cartoon animated people, so they introduced the Battle Android Trooper. So here we have a few of the B.A.T toys from my collection. And again, ultimately, these were introduced so that you could have an enemy, a humanoid fighting enemy on the side of Cobra that could actually get hit, get damaged, get destroyed, blown up, whatever the case may be. They were an expendable fighting force that we could now take to the next level. And how do we even know that this was kind of their main focal point goal for this character? Well, as soon as the Battle Android Troopers were introduced into the cartoon, the opening credits were redone. And the first thing we see early on when G.I. Joe infiltrates the Terrordrome is a Battle Android Trooper advancing on some Joes and them getting blown to smithereens, just blown to pieces, right? So, funny enough that even though they were introduced for a very particular reason, ultimately these became one of my absolute favorite G.I. Joe toys, G.I. Joe things to collect. So what I have here is a couple different, all the way going back to the early to mid 80s. Right up in front is our 1985-86 original G.I. Joe Battle Android Trooper action figure, right? Behind it, to the side is a more current version, probably only a few years old, where we got to see a little bit more higher detail and articulation. Can't get past the fact that as soon as I saw there was a Funko Pop release of the Battle Android Trooper, I had to get my hands on one. And then ultimately, the same thing happened with the Super Punch large-scale Battle Android Trooper figure, which is not very posable. It's not meant to be posable. It's a borderline statue, but I just love the scale. I love the detail. And of course, all the way back to the original leading up to today, one of the things that has made the Battle Android Trooper very distinguished from pretty much any other toy in the G.I. Joe line has been that holographic looking three-dimensional chest piece that gives you an idea of the inner workings. Have no idea what those inner workings are meant to do, but they look really cool. And that goes all the way back to that original release of this action figure in the 80s. So I can't tell you exactly why the Battle Android Trooper is one of my favorites. It just is. I loved the fact that all the way back to the original toy, they had different attachments. You could take off the hand, which to me served two purposes from a play perspective. The first one, it was cool to put on the different claw or the flamethrower or the different attachments that it had. But funny enough, one of the other reasons I loved it, I could battle damage without actually damaging or breaking my figure. I cannot tell you how many times Snake Eyes used his katana to slice the hand off of my Battle Android Trooper. There was just something so cool about having that little hand and wrist that you could remove from the figure itself. So really, there's nothing here. There's no real big sales pitch or ploy or anything else that I'm trying to do except, spend a few minutes paying some homage to one of my favorite characters. And the nice thing is that there's been a lot of different versions of the Battle Android Trooper. I will clearly always kind of go back to my personal favorite, that original style, that original deco of this particular character. But there's been a lot of different fun and interesting variants of this character, and later this year, early next year, we're going to get even some more with the Super 7 release of some G.I. Joe characters, including Cobra Commander, and of course, the Battle Android Trooper. So nothing else except to express some of my love and appreciation for one of my favorite childhood toys. So what do you think? Is the Battle Android Trooper worthy of the envy, or is it really just another throwaway type of character? Is there a different version that's ultimately your favorite of the Battle Android Trooper? Go ahead and leave your comments for this video, and of course, please subscribe so you can get this and future videos that we make. Until then, I'm Dave Floss with Mentally Unbalanced and Prometheus Falling Toys, and we'll see you soon.